I'm going to die. It's scary to see your friend like this, and right after you gather the courage to confess too. Sorry, I didn't give you a response, even though you've been looking at me for all this time. You were right, Aki-chan. I should have cared more about myself. I should have joined a club instead of running around doing errands for everyone else. Did I even have any hobbies? What club would I have joined? I don't know. But now, I see. I wanted to fall in love after all. You're quite the heavy sleeper, Koharu-chan.
Inee's manga Lovebullet is a new Yuri series which has ticked so many of my personal boxes. Yeah, sure, it wasn't painfully obvious already, I'm a massive Yuri fan. But do you know I have more than just cute girls being cute together? Despair and pain. I was a troubled child who ate blue tack.
Madoka Magica is the series I blame this the most on, as it was my absolute favourite piece of media for many, many years, and still is one of my all-time favourites. There is something so gratifying about existentialism, and when you mix that with genuine romantic relationships, you're striking gold.
You'd be surprised how many times women loving women fiction is actually women losing women. If you're a Yuri fan, you can't have everything. But truth be told, despite the cynic within me, that is not the main thing that appeals to me when it comes to Yuri. In fact, what I love about it is something that's not so black and white. I actually super love Yuri because it consistently tells the story of an underdog. And it's not necessarily a character type you see throughout this kind of fiction, it's instead about the creators of that fiction.
You see, Yuri doesn't seem to sell well in the eyes of publishers. It's not that Yuri fans don't go out of their way to buy physical media. Believe me, Yuri lovers are fucking crazy. I would know! I've bought 9 volumes of Yuri is my job and I can't even say I love it that much. And while sure, if you're outside the Yuri fandom but still a giga weeb, you may think the statement about underselling makes no sense, especially because you've likely heard a series like Bloom Into You and Citrus. But if anything, that only furthers my point. You have heard of these series because they are the only few massively popular series the genre has on offer. So little Yuri Manga actually obtains the notoriety to facilitate an anime adaptation. And when those adaptations happen, very little marketing is supplemented, reducing their reach.
I was absolutely gutted when The Executioner Layer of Life's anime came out and there was little to no marketing for it. Especially when a series like this has such a refined magic system that it almost gave me Mushoku Tensei vibes, and that is saying something.
An even sadder fact, some Yuri manga never even get the global serialization treatment and rely on fan subbers to spread their word outwards in hopes it draws in a larger audience, causing Yuri manga to abruptly come to an end in the middle of publication. The very manga this video is talking about was in this very situation. With little to no marketing from publishing agencies being given to the creator Inee, this series had almost ended with its first volume's release. Inee's manga followed the same cancellation patterns Yuri fans began to sadly become accustomed to. But the end result was something so monumental and unprecedented, it would go on to become a movement to help break the stigma surrounding the Yuri genre in the manga market. Its potential axing would instead be redefined as an outstanding overnight success.
It was such a crazy time, especially for a demographic that is so doesn't really get a lot of attention paid. It was really incredible to see.
It went on to become one of the most requested manga series to ever receive an anime adaptation. Lovebullet went on to become the red Yuri manga that refused to die.
And now look, I swear I will talk about this manga and what about it is so appealing and fascinating. This isn't meant to be the rehash of an already incredible video on this topic by Lines in Motion, but some of the information present in this video you would have likely seen in their coverage of the story. Put simply, Lovebullet as a manga feels impossible to talk about without noting the brilliant story behind its conception. If you'll excuse me, I'm gonna speak out my ass real quick. Hello there. Manga distribution companies likely want to back projects they see the most profit in. Printing naturally costs a lot of money, and that's just one of the many factors that comes into distribution of manga. So naturally, they would only want to facilitate projects they can see a return on investment on.
Shonen manga being the most popular would indicate that distributors would have a higher likelihood of contributing their funds to works within that field because they see them commonly produced and do rather well. Yuri, however, doesn't really get that treatment, as this genre isn't exactly a dominating one. That doesn't necessarily mean that Yuri is inferior, but because there are already genres that naturally do well, these publishing agencies tend to overlook those with the potential to be fantastic with those they know will sell well. The core issue, at least in my eyes, stems from the fact distributors seem to be more focused on the numerical value attached to previous serializations, rather than looking to the potential of new high-quality works of various genres.
I will give credit where credit is due. Yen Press and Seven Seas Entertainment have recently been a part of the Yuri push, which has been good. Again, this is pure speculation, but when I think to how long it takes certain Yuri series to finally get an English translation, I can't help but wonder that these series are only getting that treatment because they've proven themselves successful already, not necessarily getting the same kickstarters most other manga from different genres do.
It is precisely because of this I adore mangaka who write Yuri. Straight up, well, gay up, I guess. These are the stories they want to tell and actively choose against conformation with what sells in order to do so. It takes a lot of grit to be willing to put your time and effort into something you're passionate about, but it's even more incredible seeing creators willingly commit full time to their project despite being at a disadvantage solely for the sake of their art. An example being The Princess of Sylph, a fantasy Yuri manga that was abandoned by publishers only after 3 volumes, leaving the mangaka to self-publish the remainder of the series. Promoting it through their own beautiful short animations and consistent art, they've been scraping by ever since. They found some success since being independent, even acknowledging the praise overseas and consulting to finally get an English translation. However, only time will really tell if the route of self-publishing will truly allow for the creator to see this series to its completion. After all, they can only really sell pre-existing hard copies, and all future chapters will purely be digital. They are also currently experiencing the rough patch many Yuri mangaka find themselves in, and not all of them are able to climb out of it. Even going on to wish further Yuri works by other mangaka the best of luck, as this pattern has become so consistent with the genre.
Which blows my mind because this series is fucking gas! She is bleeding out of every orifice while simultaneously trying to repair the face of a mutilated princess who failed a ritual to save the people of her town. That is hardcore.
Lots of Yuri series are being underpublicized and are right now on the cusp of being axed by publishers unless they bring in more money. And while lovebullet hasn't been axed due to recent support, it doesn't necessarily mean the series isn't free of that fear. Though the journey it went on is so iconic and inspiring, its name will forever hold significance, which will further push its story across the web. Lovebullet's culmination is a hopeful story about a mangaka who did everything they could to save their story from oblivion. It's also the story of a fanbase who, against all odds, fought to bring attention to their beloved series and disrupt their genre stereotype. It's the unfortunate story of how other Yuri works will inevitably, already have, met their bitter end.
So where do I even start unpacking the story that is Lovebullet? Maybe I should talk about Lovebullet. You don't even know what that is yet.
Lovebullet is currently a 1-volume Yuri manga about modern-day Cupids. They are, however, rather unfortunate beings. Cupids in this universe are lifeforms brought from despair, only able to obtain that title if they failed to find love in the time they spent when they were alive. Our lead, Koharu, is no exception. She was a young high school student prior to her death who had an avid talent in matchmaking, even coining the reputation as the perfect love proxy for all her classmates. But thankfully, her best friend Tamika is there to ensure she isn't abused in that position. She has spent her entire high school life in this role, never really doing anything remarkable for herself, never really finding any interest in anything in particular. Koharu just exists as a tool for others to use in their own pursuits of love, lacking any real ambition or personal drive. Koharu hasn't even thought about, nor really had any experience with love herself.
And before you start typing in the comments, oh, literally me, there's one major difference. Someone actually loves her. I will be lonely on Valentine's Day.
On a walk home from school, Tamika actually professes her love to Koharu. For the longest time, she bet a crush on her, but never knew when to be open about it. And while Koharu wants to feel happy about the fact their closest person feels such affection towards them, she doesn't really know how to respond to these feelings. She hasn't really been in this situation before. Debris couldn't make his grand appearance, almost crushing them both. But thanks to Koharu's quick responsiveness, she manages to save Tamaki from potentially being hurt. But she wouldn't make it out unscathed. Koharu bleeds out with unfulfilled feelings and desires left unachieved, realizing in this moment, deep down, she really did want to fall in love for herself. And in that revelation, the criteria for her to become a Cupid is fulfilled. Promise, providing she can bring about a certain amount of genuine love between everyday people, she can have a chance at a life again. Alongside other Cupids with the same goal, they both team up and compete in the pursuit of fulfilling that quota. matching people based on their own perceptions of what love is, whilst igniting that passion between people with, bullets. Bullets that make people fall in love. Oh, love bullets! That's the name in the manga!
While the premise of this series is really unique and cool in its own right, it is far from the selling point. The take on a traditional Roman mythos in a more contemporary context is indeed fascinating, especially when revival is a key factor in their motivation. But that being said, this is more just a backdrop to let our characters grow in front of. Inee has a clear love and passion for the craft, and even though Love Bullet is their first manga, it clearly demonstrates just how well versed in the medium they actually are.
It features an art style that's unique to its creator, with characters having very charming and fascinating designs that say so much about who they are. Take for example the mentor Cupid Kana. Without any context looking at this character, you already have a gleam into their personality. They are collected, tactful, and methodical. Clearly a veteran Cupid with a level head. To the best girl Chiyo, where they exude confidence and playfulness, someone who clearly enjoys a little bit of chaos every now and then. But to write them off as simply that would be doing these characters a complete disservice, as when a Cupid is shot by a love bullet themselves, they temporarily open up in an unfiltered way about their views on love, and envy for those who got to experience it. And what you get is a contradiction in how these characters present themselves. In fact, I'd argue what you actually get is the truest side of who they are, that they themselves feel it necessary to keep that aspect of them hidden. There is clearly a deeper level to these characters, and while we have only really seen Koharu's story so far, I imagine other characters' past will also be explored in a similar way. Now that they have passed on, we alongside them get to revisit who they were before they died and how they came to be who they are now, and I really fuck with that.
I like angel beats, by the way. Probably explains a lot.
Perhaps it's still too early to assume how deep this series will delve into its characters, though I'm more inclined to believe this will be the case, as this is without question a character-driven story. This is also made apparent in how it's presented visually. Inee's ability to express these characters through both loud and intense emotions as well as small little mannerisms is something prominent throughout this manga. Because these characters don't on a technical level require an absurd amount of line work, and because the mangaka themselves don't necessarily draw every background into every panel, they instead utilize their time to bring these characters to life through their interactions. And those interactions, whether they're hilarious or intimate or both, are a blast to follow. Also, speaking of blasting, I'm bad at segues. The gunfights are really fucking cool.
This series is at its most fun during its action sequences, and sure, it may not be some kind of shonen jump manga you used to see, but I mean, this level of kick-ass from a random Yuri manga? Yes, please.
Inee's understanding of what makes for a compelling battle sequence was on full display in the first chapter of Love Bullet. Fights, despite not having intense and high stakes, don't make them any less exciting to experience. The flow of the choreography is so fluid, and that is across every character's fighting style, despite their differences. Every Cupid manages themselves during combat in different ways. Chiyo likes to control a fight with reflexes and brute force. She's incredibly nimble and quick to make decisions, whilst Inee is a great shot but is heavily reliant on her arsenal, efficiently creating space to ensure they can hit a target within a certain range. Then there is Koharu, who just, kind of panics, and Kana, whose style is a bit more mischievous, not prideful in the slightest and willing to do whatever it takes to win. Seeing these personalities intertwined with their style of fighting is again testament to how well written visually these characters are.
Okay, so look, I know I've been glazing this manga for a hot minute now, but the whole point is that it clearly does a whole bunch of things right. It might not be for everybody, sure, but there is clearly an audience that likes this. And yet, come the 17th of September in 2024, Inee would release a bonus chapter unlike their previous.
Love Bullet was financially failing, and if it couldn't pull purchases now, the chances of its continuation would be almost zero. This is every mangaka's worst nightmare, spending months to years on a project they believe in, creating something that is their livelihood, only for it to never be given the chance it needs to truly succeed. Inee, however, refused to give up on this series without a fight, releasing a chapter that outright asked for the support of readers to help spread the word of Love Bullet in any way they could. The creators' transparency and love for their art managed to reach many people across the globe. but little did Inee realise just how gargantuan a wave they had just created. You see, even prior to lovebullet's potential cancellation, their fandom had already slowly but surely been growing. In its early days, its genesis was purely through word of mouth from dedicated fans. These fans would be going into manga-focused Discord servers and sharing the work of Inee on Twitter, whether it be fan art or general discussion of the topic. They made it their mission to spread the word of their beloved Red Yuri. The incredible scanlation team Sancho Step would also consistently pump out clean translations of the original work, even formulating, I kid you not, an extensive but easy to follow guide on how to purchase copies of the manga that directly support the creator. Seriously, this fucker has hyperlinks! Hyperlinks, I tell you! What, now you're gonna tell me it has screenshots with circles that indicate where to click on the website in order to add things to your cart? Holy shit!
Next, you're gonna tell me it actually works. Holy shit, it actually works!
Things were looking pretty good, all things considering. Even prior to the threat of cancellation, people were already doing whatever they could to support lovebullet. Sure, financially speaking, this wasn't exactly viable at the time and wasn't going to save the series, but with an audience this dedicated already, good things were bound to happen. MangaDex received roughly 6,000 bookmarks at this time, with over 500 ratings of this on AniList. It seems that even before the threat of cancellation, the lovebullet community had already begun brainstorming ways to support the series, as if perhaps deep down, maybe some of them were worried that lovebullet would suffer the same fate as many other Yuri series did at the time. Fujichika's manga, Sukeban Tenkousei, was an absolutely beautiful little Yuri series focused on the relationship between a delinquent high school girl and a transfer student. Young Kanazaki Riri is head over heels for Atsuko, especially when someone as cool as her says cute little phrases that contradict how she looks.
This speaks to me, by the way, on an emotional level. I mean, if I were to picture someone like, I don't know, Ray Ripley, saying things like honey bunch and sugar lemon and strawberry cake whilst performing a riptide on me and breaking every conceivable bone in my body, that's just... Oh, is it getting hot in here? Whew.
Deep down, Atsuko feels a genuine connection to Kanazaki. She makes her feel warm and welcomed, being the one person within their school who doesn't reject them for how they look. Both come to realize they are falling in love with one another, but don't want to ruin what they both currently share. It's endearing and heartwarming. While this series is meant to be quite out there with its comedy, it comes back down during moments more intimate, and it's in those moments I find the series is at its best. The mangaka knows how to write love properly, and yet, such a story would suddenly end at the drop of a third volume. Sukeban Tenkousei is a genuinely beloved series, but it only got recognized after its cancellation. The fact of the matter is, not enough people really knew of its existence, and when they did, it was far too late. This is the issue that comes with a lack of marketing. Its name is now infamous for being a series that had so much potential, if only ever given the spotlight it truly deserved. And I know this video is indirectly adding to that stigma, but it needs to be talked about. Especially this next part, which in my opinion is the aspect of the story that hurts the most. When its announcement of cancellation occurred, Fujichika would go on to blame themselves for the lack of sales, proclaiming it to be a lack of their own ability and consistently apologizing for being unable to come to terms with the state of the manga's livelihood, and therefore showcase the lack of transparency with their audience.
It is unfortunate that the author saw it that way, because I thought it was just such a sweet series, and I love that they're still drawing art of the characters, and I still see it on my timeline every so often, but no, that's really heartbreaking.
I know the quality of an art isn't reflective of the numbers it generates, yet I understand full well how hard it is for creators themselves sometimes truly to believe that. I know many fantastic artists who have created beautiful stories and pieces, but have yet to receive the spotlight, nor the support they truly deserve. The truth is, lots of amazing art has yet to rise to the surface, but that weight, the time it sometimes takes, is too much for a creator to bear, and such was the case for Hanamonogatari by mangaka Shuchwin. This was an adult Yuri manga focused on a romance between two elder ladies, with it being a story of coming to terms with age and moving on from a departed partner. This manga would also sadly come to an abrupt end due to low sales, this too failing due to a lack of marketing, even stating how their own editorial team doesn't even follow their account nor promote them at all on Twitter, even encouraging people to read fan translations in hopes it would eventually reach a wider audience, but at this point, it was already too late. And it sucks. It really fucking sucks, because this artist cares about their craft, but over time, without any eyes on it and the lacking of financial support and stability, they decided it was time to let go of it for good.
To fellow creators, I just want it to be known, your work's significance and the value of your work is not dictated by the numbers that may surround it. It's cliche, I know, but art is something that transcends numerics. Follower counts, reposts, financial backing, none of it truly dictates how much your art matters. And look, I get it. We aren't just posting things to the internet because we love to make things. We love to make things that people see. And when it doesn't get attention, yeah, it super fucking sucks. Sometimes I'll post a video that I worked really hard on that I'm really proud of, and maybe it doesn't perform very well. And it can feel like I'm letting down my audience. It can feel like I have failed them. But in reality, we're always our harshest critic, and I know, man, I make some cool ass videos. I only hope that those who create art, make things they're passionate about, are not attacking the person who put these things together. Because your art matters just as much as everybody else's. To Fujishika sensei, I just want to say the lack of sales that came with your manga are not reflective of your abilities as a creator. What you made was adorable, genuine, and beautiful, and all your fans across the globe, myself included, will never forget the memories you've given us with your series.
Fans of lovebullet knew where a path like this could lead, so in an instant they passionately got to work. Yuri fans from across the globe had seen what happened to Sukeban to Tenkousei and Hanamonogatari, and they refused to let another talented creator and story be done in by a lack of marketing. The attack plan was simple. Gather as many lovebullet fans as humanly possible and get them to together retweet Inee's cancellation post, working together to exclaim even louder than ever before how incredible this series is and how talented the person making it actually was. Posts about the manga would also coincide with posts to promote the fan translation, as it featured a link to the buyer's guide showcased earlier in the video to rally people from outside Japan to the online stores to purchase a physical copy. Sancho Scans would pump out the bonus chapters translation in a record-breaking time, Inee even giving them their blessing to use it for promotional purposes. But things were only just getting started. Yuri fans would unite, conversing with major Yuri Twitter accounts like Avery and Lexi, who would also go on to spread the word of lovebullet, ensuring it could reach even more people who are unaware of its contents.
It just, all of a sudden, a bunch of people started posting about it all at once, and then I had a couple people in my DMs that were letting me know about the series. It was incredible, and it was like a reminder of how like strong this community is, even though how quote-unquote small the community might seem. Like, we're a strong community, and when something needs our help, like we'll be loud about it.
During this time, Inee created various incredible arts and promotion of the series, doing everything they could to ensure its influence would spread, and with it came character sheets, further selling people on its universe both in and outside of lovebullet's circle. Did I say they were just getting started before? No, I mean it now. No, now they're just getting started, because they would then go on to formulate a plan to hand-deliver a letter of encouragement to Inee during their time promoting lovebullet at Komita, signed with various names from the English-speaking side of the fandom, providing a hyperlink with a bunch of fan art of the series from various talented creators to show Inee just how much their first volume meant to people. Fan art, fan fiction, fan theories, fan reviews, all of it would spread like wildfire. If you're in the Yuri fandom, her little gremlin face was inescapable. This support in application was no joke. lovebullet would completely sell out entire websites, prompting, I kid you not, direct word from the Japanese goods distribution company CD Japan. Staff from the business would go on to contact members of the lovebullet community to ask them, hey, why the fuck do you want so many copies of this, and why is there a sudden surge in sales? And not only did they fully support the movement, but they even went on to join their fan Discord server later on.
It was a movement, I'm saying. It's like a thing for the history books. It was crazy.
The fiery passion of the community could not be extinguished, managing to sell out several stores in the span of a single day. Whilst also being so influential, it also managed to lend a hand to other manga series on the cusp of cancellation. The wonderful Yuri Manga, A Curtain Call for You, was also in the midst of getting the axe due to a lack of marketing, and thus resulted in low sales. Despite its genuine, incredible quality, I'm a major fan of this one by the way, it still faced the same fate, Yet this event would also shine a well-deserved spotlight on it and eventually lead it to licensing in English, so it's safe to assume, for now, it's gone okay. The Yuri fandom would simply not let the lack of marketing stop creators from reaching their full potential. Never wavering, they all worked so hard to keep the dreams of their favourite creators alive.
They didn't want to see something repeated, like especially for a series that has so much potential and just everything, and it deserved so much love. They didn't want to see a repeat of what has happened so many times before. And we had time to save the series. We were given a warning and we were like, okay, come on, let's band together and save it. And we did.
Through their efforts, lovebullet wasn't just saved, but it instead became a beacon of hope for all Yuri creators worldwide. Within 24 hours, its community had grown 10 times in size, selling out in every conceivable way both online and in bookstores. It would receive over 17,000 bookmarks on MangaDex, and on AniList, it would cement itself in the top 250 highest rated manga of all time. The craziest part of all of this was that none of it was luck. It was the combined effort of so many passionate people. From people with a loud voice in the community, proudly proclaiming the beauty of the series they want to support, to translators and promoters who worked overtime in order to make the series more accessible to the general public in order to spread Inee's message, to those who would notify people of restock and those who simply spread awareness of the movement through their posts and fan art, to mangaka whose previous works would end abruptly but would still go on to support the success of other mangaka in a similar situation, to Inee themselves for their transparency and openness towards needing help and continually working their absolute best to ensure they can tell their story in full. All of these factors, and so many more, would come together to remind the world Yuri will always have a place in people's hearts. And, well, if you need proof, just look at Lovebullet, or, as I like to call it, the red Yuri manga that refused to die.
I cannot stress enough how important it is for you guys to support the creators you love the most. In manga's case, I've always been an advocate of buying a physical copy of a manga you read. It supports the creator and you get a little something nice on your shelf. I'm also not saying that Yuri fans don't buy manga if that wasn't painfully obvious from this video, and I mean, I've got more coming. But even if giant marketing conglomerates won't come and support our fellow creators, we can. And look, I'm aware that the cost of living is only going up and people don't have that luxury.
Though if you're watching this video, that means you at the very least have internet access, and look, whether you're paying for it or stealing it from your local McDonald's, doesn't matter, because simply with that connection, you can make an impact. Exclaim how much you love a certain piece of media and be brave enough to recommend it to others. Hell, feel free to use my comment section if you must. I'm always on the lookout for a good read, so please fire 'em my way. It's important we look after the creators who give us these stories, because if nobody gets the chance to hear them, it would be as if they barely existed at all. And there are plenty of stories out there that are worth preserving. I want to give a big personal thank you to the Daily Lovebullet account for their absolutely incredible research surrounding Lovebullet's conception. Had it not been for this person, the following video would never have been as extensive. Without them, aspects of Lovebullet's history could have outright disappeared, so cannot thank him enough for their contribution. This person rules, show him some love. Also, big thank you to the wonderful Avery for taking the time to speak with me about their experiences with Lovebullet at the time. They've been a genuine treasure on my Twitter feed and make the platform worth staying on with their mix of both hilarious and profound posts.
I think my biggest message is like keep reading Yuri, keep watching Yuri, giving it all the love, because it's a demographic and genre that deserves so much more love and attention.
Finally, I want to thank Inee themselves for not just their consistent support of my Lovebullet edits on Twitter, but for making this really cool first volume. I and many others are very excited to see where the story will go from here. Also, more Chio, please. This murder gremlin fucking rules. I say finally, but I like thanking people, and I have some very lovely people to thank here. My wonderful patrons! Thank you guys so much for the consistent support throughout the months. Seeing some of your names still here after what has been a full year since the Patreon has been up, roughly, is absolutely mind-blowing. As well as the new people who have only come in more recently, thank you all so much for the support. I really hope these videos demonstrate how much it genuinely means to me. Wow, such cool names are on the screen right now. Gee Willikers, I like that one. That one's cool. Wow. Oh, awesome. And hey, speaking of cool, how about these beautiful tier 4s, huh? Come on, round of applause, please, for the following people. Big thank you to Mighty Dong, Lux Koa, Sea of Clouds, Lantern Larry, Pigeon, Why Do You Ask, and Stagamatus. You guys fucking rule, and I cannot stress enough how generous and crazy your contribution has been to this channel. With that, I'll leave you guys with this. Read more Yuri, indulge in the color red, eat your vegetables, and drink more water. Oh, and also go buy that Red Lesbian Angel manga. I've heard it's pretty good. I have not read it, but stay funky fresh, y'all.
Jump up and get down.